Hello, dreamers! Pause this video and get yourself comfortable with a nice cup of dreamy tea because this is another storytelling video. So, I have a mysterious box to open. I have some books to talk about in relationship to the box that you may have heard about, but I think you'll find it quite interesting how these two relate. And to help us with our unboxing, we have the beautiful and mysterious Piro doll, who actually has a musical box inside of her, and occasionally she uses that as her way to communicate and talk. So she's quite beautiful with pastel pinks and lace. And there'll be a little bit more on her after we get to the box. So, let's get started and see what is inside here and why. This has been a long time coming, and this story goes back to around 2011. So as I filmed this, it's 2018. And the doll itself goes back, with Piro. My story with her goes back to about 2005. So here we have a beautiful doll trunk. Now we've removed the bubble wrap. I'll enjoy that later. Who likes playing with bubble wrap? I certainly do. So now we have a beautiful doll trunk. So inside of here is a doll that's been with me before. Now, this particular doll is from the 90s, but the doll that I had before might have been a Seymour Man doll going back somewhere to the 70s or maybe earlier than that. I'm not quite sure. But in a sense, she's reincarnated. Wow. And here we have our doll trunk. Beautiful pastel pink box. I really like that. And then we have a box inside another box where she can be stored. So we'll take that and put that to the side for now. And here we have an emerald colored box with a golden latch and a name tag, Trudy. Well, I don't think that's her name, but that's quite a nice name for this doll. But her original name was Lynette. Well, at least that's what the lady who sold the first doll to me told me. So let's open her up and finally bring her back. Oh, wow. Okay, wow. Now that's a doppelganger. That's a completely different doll company. And, wow. The photos did not prepare me for this because she feels and looks exactly the same as my other doll. And I thought she would be similar, but wow. Oh, and she's a lot smaller than I thought from the pictures, which is lovely. So petite, so beautiful. Oh, wow, and she's got beautiful peach colored dress, beautiful eyes. She's incredibly soft. Her hair is so soft. We have some beautiful roses here, little porcelain hands, and a beautiful peach colored skirt here, or dress. Oh, and then she's got something for a stand. Oh, she comes with a stand. I can stand her up this time. My experience with this particular spirit, I did not have a stand for her. And she did not have this beautiful little feather in her hair. So here we have, I'll call her Lynette for now. Here we have Lynette, our beautiful spirit doll. And now I'll be able to tell you the history that we have shared. So I was just pausing to admire her myself with her little shoes. She's got little buckle shoes. Oh wow, they're real buckles. Little buckles, and they slip on and off. That's so sweet. So she's got proper clothes with undergarments and buckles, and really beautiful and intense eyes. So she's quite almost she's quite a light soul. So we'll put her down for now. And let's see if we can have her meet Piro. Although technically these two have met before. So put that down. We'll put Lynette down and Piro down. Okay, so story time. Story time begins soon. But it did say she came with a spare dress. So let's have a look at that. Oh wow, look at this. Look at this. Oh, and it hangs on a little... That is so beautiful. So she's got a little wardrobe and she's got this... Oh, it's a proper little... I thought it'd be a cardboard box, but it's a proper little latched... Loud latch. Proper latched box. So we have her. And we have this time... she has a beautiful... Oh, this one's extra soft. A beautiful pink change of outfit. So later we'll be able to see her in a different outfit, if not here on my Instagram. But there are many videos to come on this channel, so I'm sure you'll be able to see her in her pink outfit. Although it's very nice to have her in her original peach outfit. So you may or may not have heard of a process called the KonMari process, designed by Marie Kondo, who is a native of Japan. And this is the famous book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and the sequel, about Sparks Joy. So I'll tell you about how this process has been an integral part of me creating the channel. The process has been behind multiple changes in my life, and it's given me immense value, and I've gained so much wisdom and learned so much from doing this process. So I'll tell you a little bit about that and how that connects with Piro and Lynette. So when I first picked up this book, I had multiple, as you know, I'm a spoonie, I have health issues, and it took me multiple attempts to try and declutter my house. Now, I didn't really have a lot of mess or a lot of clutter. My to everyone's eyes, my house looked quite nice. It was well kept. I've always been a clean person, but there were a lot of details and there were a lot of aspects of it that really weren't me and were a symbol of how we often keep things in our lives out of obligation, or because somebody's handed something down to us or given us a gift and we feel obliged to keep it. And then our house fills up with hand-me-down clothes and hand-me-down items and all sorts of things that don't spark joy. And so, with a bit of a background of the philosophy of Japanese Shintoism, which understands the energy of objects, feng shui, the chi that's behind the objects, and the history of objects that you have in your home is very important. As they say with people, the top 5 people that you have in your life have the most influence on you. So if you have someone who's always complaining, and if you have somebody who has a bad attitude or a bad attitude to women or to money, or a lot of people who are just down on their luck and don't have jobs or have bad attitudes to life in general, if you want to be successful and get ahead in life and be a better person, if you're surrounded by people that take and detract from yourself, you will have, and this is scientifically, that you can look up studies behind this. There's lots of videos behind this, so I'm not going to go into it, but I'm just referencing it, that it's a well-known concept that who you are surrounded with your family and your friends, have a direct impact on who you become and who you are. So if you change your friend group and if you change your environment, that can set you up for positive changes in your life. So after I had disconnected from people who did not appreciate me and did not value me or treat me with respect, I decided to do the same with the objects in my home. And so this is not merely a decluttering book in the Western style where it's all about throwing things out and getting rid of things and organizing techniques. This is not the type of book that you have heard of before. A lot of people on my Instagram or friends, when they first hear me speak about the KonMari method, they think that I'm just talking about another decluttering method and that they can do that by themselves and they don't really need this book. They're wrong. I've done this book. I've struggled with decluttering my entire life, and holding on to things that weren't mine and taking responsibility for other people and other things that weren't mine. And so by following the steps in this book, this tackles the mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects behind why you may do this. This tackles the heart of what really and truly makes you happy. And as you can see from my other Zelf videos, if this is the first time you've watched my video, I will show you a Zelf. So this is an example of a Zelf. It's like a modern day troll doll. And I have multiple videos on these Zelfs. So here's something to look at while I'm talking. So with the KonMari process, when I followed each category, got through the emotions, evaluated what was truly important to me and what really sparked joy for me, and went through the spiritual process that is in this book, I found that who I thought I was a lot different to what I had in my house. It taught me to challenge my perceptions of what I was accepting, and I ended up with 14 or 20 of these little zelfs, were one of the few things that were left, as well as equipment for videos and podcasting, where I previously, my artistic expression was painting. And I hadn't enjoyed painting for years, but because I viewed myself as a creative person, I found it very hard to let go of the canvases and things like that, because I was convinced that if I just had the energy or the motivation, I would get back to it. And what this book teaches us is sometimes by letting things go and accepting that you've changed and that you've moved on, you can bring in new people, new hobbies, and new things into your life. And sometimes that energy will be reincarnated in a way into something new. So, for example, painting was replaced with podcasting, making these videos, going on Instagram and taking photos, getting back into my writing again. So, clearing out my art room and going through the process where you hold the objects, and there's exercises to do with the objects as well as just putting them aside, really helped me shed layers of issues and blocks that I had in my life. And by the time I had pretty much completed the process, I'm down to 2 boxes left of sentimental and paper items. By the time I had completed the process, I had started getting back into my creativity. I changed to a vegan diet. I've now been a vegan for about 3 years now. That happened during my KonMari process. I opened up my psychic abilities. I started giving people tarot reads and being very accurate with that. I changed my group of friends. A lot changed after doing this. So I believe this is literally, as stated, a life-changing book. Highly recommended. Now, if this is complete by itself, so why would you need this? Well, after you've cleared and gone through the process, they say in magical terms, once you banish, you must invoke. So where there's an empty space or an empty vessel, the water will flow. So once you've removed what you don't love or need, so it's basically, if you don't have money to get this book, it won't be the same, but I can, one of the core principles, as well as a few other things that would really help you get started, is the idea is whatever you don't love or need, truly love, you shouldn't have in your house. So that means that top that your mother-in-law gave you that you don't love and you don't really need because you have other clothes. So, unless that was your only top and you were going to be naked, that's the kind of need they're talking about, real need. If you still have that top and you hate that top and you don't like that top, going, oh, well, it's wasteful, blah, 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 blah. That's the kind of mentality that you leave behind. You get to what you truly, genuinely love, what sparks joy. So after you sell, donate, or throw out that mother-in-law top that doesn't fit you and doesn't look good, you get to what really sparks joy. And then this book really gets to, okay, so now I know what I don't want, and what I needed to move from and what I needed to let go of in my life and what needed to change. Okay, so I let go of eating meat and dairy and killing animals and doing things that just didn't sit right with me ethically anymore. So I got rid of a lot of things in my life. And then what you have left gives you a clue of what truly sparks joy. So you may end up with a lot of emptiness in your house. You may end up with a lot of spaces in your life once you've cleared out what you no longer want. So I was left with 14 to 20 of these little zelfs that I was sort of casually collecting, but not really. And the KonMari process was what helped me create this channel and become the toy collector that you see Staria being today. So when I noticed that I basically got rid of most of the contents of my house, I am still down to 2 pairs of shoes, a couple of dresses and a few basics like t-shirt. I've got 1 pair of jeans. I really cleared, sold, donated. I did this task quite properly. When I saw what was left, what really sparked joy and what was left was things I needed, like food and clothes, and then everything else that I did not need to survive was toys and cute things and fun things and silly things and pieces of myself, beautiful pieces of myself and fun and magical pieces of myself that I had ignored or pushed aside. And so when I saw that that's what truly made me happy, I ended up with the gigantic Zelf shelf that you see in my other videos where I've got 100 or so Zelfs. I've got the full collection of Zelfs. I have multiple toys. I have dug up my old plushies and things from childhood. I've also tracked down some things, and I also collect new toys. And that truly brings me a sense of joy that I have friends with these toys. I have creativity with these toys. When I look at them, their stories come forth and it helps me write, it helps me make, it gives me things that I can share and connect with you. So I just want to get another one of these little guys. You just got to see some of these. If you haven't, they're just too cute. So here's some more of them. I mean, they're fun, and that's childhood and adventure and imagination. And there's no rule that says unless you're hurting anyone that you can't have this kind of thing in your adulthood. So this is what was left, and this is what sparked joy. This is what sparked joy for me. And then this book teaches you more about that. And then it helps you organize what you have, but not by the usual way. And it recaps the letting go process as well and refining the entire process. And I feel like if you're struggling with those things in your house, especially if you've gone through a breakup or a massive life change, you get these books, start with this, you follow step by step, don't miss a step, do it exactly as she says. And I guarantee you, and I have depression and anxiety, so I can guarantee no matter where you are in life, I personally believe that these books will dramatically help and change your life. So that's enough on the KonMari process. But she did say, especially if you are, well, I was depressed. I struggle sometimes with depression to listen to my intuition and to feel the energy of objects because sometimes all I can feel is my own sadness. So sometimes making a decision from that place can be really difficult. Now, she said that nobody that she's ever taught, Marie Kondo has said that nobody that she's ever taught has ever regretted what they've done. And in the few cases that the person has let something go that they regretted, it's always come back. So even the fear that I had before starting the process, that if I let something go, she was completely right that it came back. Now some of the example of this was, she said that it would only be one or two things. I had 3 things that I think I had 2 to 3 things that I ended up regretting later, but they came back. They all came back, which was quite amazing. One of them was my favorite movie, Adaptation. So Adaptation is a really cool, trippy John Malkovich style movie with Nicolas Cage. And I donated that DVD and let it go because I had watched it multiple times and I didn't think that I would want it again. And in some ways it's a little bit depressing, so I let it go. Then I had a friend over later, and it was the one thing. All of the rest I was so glad. I was so relieved. I just felt a lot of tension come off my heart just to let things that I don't use out of my house because it's stagnant chi. I let that movie go, even though it was one of my favorite movies. And because it is one of my favorite movies and it was something I wanted to show to my friend, I thought, oh no, I've let this DVD go. And what was showing on Netflix? What was one of the movies that popped up in my recommended on Netflix? Adaptation with Nicolas Cage. So just when I was having some concern about what I let go, if it's really meant for you and you're really going to benefit from it, it will come back. So you can trust in the process that everything you let go, you will not realize how much of a burden it was until you let it go. And if there's any times, all of the hundreds and thousands of people, well, 2 million people bought this book originally and more since the reprint. Everybody who has written blogs about this, podcasts about this, videos about the process, everyone who's successfully done the process says the same thing, that they just feel relieved, and they were skeptical and they didn't believe, but they feel better after the process. So I would trust to let it go. I got Adaptation back when I needed it, so I only really wanted to show one friend, and it was on Netflix. The other thing, which was a mistake, was I was feeling depressed, and I didn't have, when I was doing the process, there was a lot of stuff being pulled out. There was a lot of bad memories. There were a lot of items being pulled out, and there was a lot of chaos in the house, and I was trying to get better at letting things go because I'm quite attached to certain things. And I did my best, and I 99% made excellent decisions that have changed my life. But one of the things that I let go was my beautiful Lynette doll, who looked very similar to the so-called Trudy over here. With a beautiful peach dress, she looked very similar. She had a bit more pink on her cheeks, and the shape of her face was a bit different, in her nose, but basically the same kind of hair and dress. And I let her go because even though I really, really loved her and I loved her energy, I didn't display her. She was just being kept in a box, and I thought, you know what, someone else could benefit from her, or someone else could benefit from these dolls. So I decided to sadly let her go during that time. And just the other day, I was talking to a friend, and that friend, you'll know who you are because I've met you on Instagram. And I've told you the full story of what happened with my Lynette doll. When I started to regret giving Lynette away, and I actually cried. I actually cried about giving Lynette away. Once my house was clear, I sort of did an inventory, and I realized that I was very happy with all of my choices. I even got the movie back, so I didn't really miss anything except really for Lynette. And when I did that, when I sort of apologized in my mind to her for letting her go, and that I said that I regretted it. I regretted letting her go. When I put that out to the universe, I have on my eBay a notification that pops up for dolls, just dolls in general. And it pops up on my phone. As soon as I said that and I typed out that message to the friend on Instagram, I typed it up and said, oh, I really regret what happened and how I got rid of that doll. And how there were some items from my childhood where adults had taken them away from me, and I was quite sad about that, and I was reminiscing on that. As soon as I sent that message, the notification on my phone popped up, and this doll with the peach dress, blue eyes, and blonde hair, just like Lynette, popped up straight away on my phone, and I just had the feeling that she had come back. And that was incredibly eerie because it was the timing of it was just uncanny. It was just, oh, I miss her, blink blink blink, and the phone goes blink blink blink, and you open it up and there's the picture of basically her on I clicked it open and there's the picture of her right there going, hello, I'm back. So of course I got her straight away. And there was no other bidders, which is really weird because a lot of these porcelain dolls have bidding wars. There was no other bidders, no other watchers. She was just meant straight for me. So, KonMari was right. You do the process, you let go, it improves your life. In the rare case that you make a mistake, everyone makes maybe one or two and they all come back. So she was, and the other one that came back was, perfect. And this was the only one. Yeah, I would say the only one I truly was sad over. So she came back to me. Lynette here came back to me. Now, Pura was, I never let her go, but she came close. Pura, that was also sad, and that's a sad moment that I'm very sorry for. I almost parted with Pura because I was skeptical. I didn't quite accept my abilities. I didn't really accept my connection to these dolls. I think society's ridicule and other people's skepticism started to get to me. And even though I had her since about 2004 or 5, I had her for years and years, she sort of started feeling sad, or she had like a sort of like a melancholy energy to her, and I didn't display her, so I sort of felt like, you know what, I was going to move her on as well. And with Lynette, when I moved her on, there was someone encouraging me to move her on, so they took her from me and removed her from the house and said, look, just let her go. And kind of proves again what Marie Kondo said, because she actually said to do it by yourself and do not let other people influence you, and don't get other people to validate your choices. So if I had done it by myself, who knows? I don't know. I was in a depressed time, so I may have made the same mistake. But I have a seeking suspicion that, just as predicted by Marie Kondo, that if I had followed the instructions, I don't think that would have happened, because I would have realized that I loved that doll. Now, when I almost did the same thing with Piro here, her music box, which chimes sometimes if you move her or by herself, it makes happy high-pitched sounds and sometimes sad sounds. I picked her up. She made the saddest song that you've ever heard. So she basically started crying, and outside of my window, a woman screamed, "Please don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me," like that. And it gave me chills down, absolutely gave me chills down my spine. And we had to ring the ambulance and everything, because right at that time, the exact moment I almost put her into a box, outside of my window was a woman and a man, and she was just screaming and falling down to the ground, and she was injured, and we had to go get her help, and she was like kind of broken. And Piro actually has a broken foot where she'd been dropped or fell off the shelf. And yeah, this poor woman was on the floor. Her partner, I think, was off his face. He like hurt her. He left her in the ground while she was injured, and she was sobbing and crying. And then we had to go get her medical help. So that was a gigantic sign from the universe not to cruelly do that again with Piro. And I'm so glad, I am so glad that those events, that synchronicity happened and those events coincided, because that just tore me into, and I was so happy once I took her out of storage and put her up in my room. Her whole chi lifted, and she really wasn't a negative doll after all. A lot of the things that we think are negative are things that have low chi or stagnant chi that just need a bit of a clean, a bit of a refresh. You treat it with kindness, you put it on top of your shelf, and treat the spirit with respect, and put it in a place of pride, and you will have 9 out of 10 times a beautiful doll like Pura here that I would not trade for $1 million. Quite honestly, nothing could get me to part with Pura unless I felt that she wanted to move home or do something different. I would not be keen to part with her. So that's the story of my two spirits here and how they amazingly came back into my life. And I have more of them that I'll be showing you and working with in time. But these two are very close to my heart. The original listing, the reason I got Lynette was I stumbled across spirit dolls sort of by accident. I think the universe again was trying to get me to be in touch with my abilities and the paranormal. I just thought that the original Seymour Man, Lynette, was an incredibly beautiful doll with peach-colored cheeks and dress, and she was just so exquisite that I wanted to buy her. And then after purchasing her, I realized I had actually bought from a spirit doll collector. And after purchasing Lynette, I received an email from the lady who sold these spirit dolls that told me what she was about, that she was a time-traveling spirit, that she helped people with astral travel, and that she was a positive spirit that could help you see a lot of different things in the spiritual realm, and that she was a very strong and beautiful, very strong and powerful spirit. And as I have soon learnt from this entire experience, she certainly did traveling back in time to come back into my life, even after her original vessel was moved on. So thank you for listening, and thank you for joining us with, that was an interesting thing that flew across the screen. Thank you for joining us and having a look at my interesting dolls. And please let me know in the comments if you are interested in such things, if you collect any metaphysical items yourself. But I do ask, with this channel being a childlike and fairy tale channel, that if you keep your stories to the positive and light spirits, that would be very much appreciated. And you'll be hearing from us shortly, because the lady who emailed me, she said her name was Lynette. This doll is the new vessel she's in is called Trudy, but I am going to give her the proper attention this time round and find out if that is indeed her name, and find out more about this Lynette. But we'll call her Lynette for now. Lynette and Pure. All right, bye-bye. I hope you learnt about the magic of tidying up and the power of letting go. And as they say, what you let go, if it's meant for you, it will come back. Sweet dreams, dreamers. Remember to trust, remember to love, and remember to let yourself enjoy a little bit of life's magic every now and then.